I really appreciate you all being here, and I especially personally really appreciate the interest in this topic because I took this job about 7 months ago, and a lot of people thought I was crazy, and no one knew what I was doing or why, and now I feel like pretty well engaged, and also that I've been hearing from many different people throughout the state of California that they're excited about the work that's going on with the water energy nexus. And today I actually was representing that water energy nexus because I spent part of the morning at the California Urban Water Conservation Council meeting where there were a lot of local government folks, City of Santa Cruz, Napa County, people from all over the state, Irvine. So I was saying to them, actually, there's a local government conference down the street talking about energy. And this afternoon, we're going to combine the two. So here we are. I'm going to do some brief introductions. And then, unlike most panel moderators, I am giving a short presentation just so you can all hear what's going on at the PUC. And then we will hear from our amazing panelists. So first, we have Jesse Langley. He is with Edison. He is a senior project manager leading local government partnership strategic planning efforts. And he's been on my statewide water energy sort of, what do we call ourselves, collaborative group, participating in the workshops we hosted in March, as well as our ongoing efforts to try and really figure out what the pathway is for water and energy nexus programs moving forward. And he works with Edison's partners on all water energy aspects and forming partnerships between Edison and water agencies and utilities, which we'll hear about. Lauren Casey is with the Sonoma County. I'm sorry, it's not in your bio, and I don't want to screw it up. The Sonoma County Climate Authority?
Regional Climate Protection Authority.
Okay, Regional Climate Protection Authority, which is a fairly unique entity, which I'm sure she will tell you all about. And she has a decade of experience with energy and climate projects. She has her master's in engineering, something I should have gotten, and an emphasis on energy from Stanford University. At the Regional Climate Protection Authority, Lauren oversees collaboration across jurisdictions in Sonoma County on programs related to resource efficiency, renewable energy, natural resources, transportation, and community engagement. That's a lot of responsibilities as well. And we have Elise Goldman, who also has participated in the CPUC's water energy workshops and continues to get dragged into all kinds of conversations about water and energy because she's so good at what she does, which is overseeing the West Basin Municipal Water District's commercial, industrial, and institutional water efficiency programs. She manages everything from small commercial and large institutional to industrial process improvement projects. And she holds a BS in environmental science, policy, and management from Berkeley. And I'm not going to talk about myself. I'm going to launch right into my presentation. So thank you so much to my panel for being here, and thank you all for being here. So I want to just talk about broadly what are the programs of the Water Energy Nexus currently? What are some of our innovative ideas that we're testing out in this program cycle? And where would we like to go? And a bit of what needs to happen in order for us to get there. So how the current demand-side portfolio of energy efficiency, DR and DG, addresses water energy. So we have your traditional type of of energy efficiency projects that are run at water agencies. And I should just say that the reason I think this is such a great panel for the local government conference is that, at least at the PUC, a lot of my colleagues don't realize that most of the people that actually treat and deliver water to customers in California and treat the wastewater are part of a local government entity or a special district. There are investor-owned water utilities in the state, but they're a pretty small percentage. And again, so there's a really good nexus, for using the term, between local government and water. So the utilities run industrial custom projects with water agencies for their own operations to improve efficiency. We currently have local government partnerships, which we're going to hear about, with municipal water utilities, and also with institutional partnerships with larger water supply agencies or wholesalers. And then utilities are running agricultural projects for irrigation districts, so improving the energy efficiency of water deliveries to farmers. And then we have IDSM, which is, a sort of new idea, and we're still really figuring out how we implement it in our demand-side programs. But with water agencies, it's especially important to encourage demand response and distributed generation with rolling out energy efficiency improvements, because there's such great opportunities for DR and DG in water and wastewater. And a new focus, at least I know Edison is taking this on, is continuous energy improvement with water agencies. So helping them to create strategic energy management plans. The big ones have them and they're doing a lot, but let's make sure that we are helping all water and wastewater agencies think strategically about energy. So the Commission's done quite a bit throughout the years. I've only been here for 7 months, but people have been talking about the water energy nexus for a while. The Commission ran pilot projects during the last cycle that were specially authorized, looking at quite a few different things. Leak loss, which essentially means trying to prevent leaks in the system, in water infrastructure before they happen. Pressure management, so looking at inefficiencies where the pressure zones meet. Landscape irrigation was a pilot run in San Diego, high efficiency toilets, ozone laundry, various other things that were sort of tested out through these pilot projects. And you can read all about them on our website. There were a lot of lessons learned. I'm not going to get into them at this point, but some good and some bad, and some really we didn't learn enough. We need to learn more during this program cycle and try to run some of these things again. So what else can be done at the water energy nexus is really where the Commission's going, and asking us, Energy Division staff, to look at essentially cold water conservation, so real water efficiency as a potential source for energy savings. So the IOUs were directed to expand their water energy efficiency programs, to try to do leak loss detection, and to attempt to run some joint programs. And also staff was directed to figure out how to analyze the cost effectiveness of saving energy by saving water, and also to figure out how the best, most accurate way to evaluate, to do EM&V for essentially water efficiency projects. So in order to do that, we have to come up with numbers for the amount of energy embedded in water, and that is very, very complicated. And we have to decide on what basis we do that. Is it local? Is it by a city? Is it by a water supplier? Is it by a region? And how are we valuing the energy embedded in water in the supply versus distribution and treatment? And until I figure all of that out with help of many stakeholders, we can't fully analyze the water efficiency projects that the IOUs and the partnerships between IOUs and water agencies. So it's a big task, and that's what I'm spending most of my time on. I've convened a project coordination group to basically help me through this process to ground truth some of staff's proposals and ideas. We have members from the IOUs, water agencies, nonprofits, academia. I have like 25 people right now, and they're stellar, and I feel like we're really making progress. We also are hoping to bring on a consultant to help us with the actual cost effectiveness calculations. So how would we create new inputs into our cost effectiveness calculator for water? So that's a big lift. And then basically proposing it to the Commission once it's completed, and perhaps proposing some interim values so that by the next program cycle, we could possibly be, funding not pilots, but a real portfolio of water efficiency programs as energy efficiency programs. And that's it. And I will turn it over to Jesse, who I believe is next. And I tried not to cover too much of what he's going to be speaking about, so hopefully we didn't overlap too much there. And Jesse's going to be giving a perspective, not just from Edison, but from all the IOUs as to what kinds of programs they're running for water and energy.
Great. Thanks, Meredith. Appreciate it. Exactly what Meredith said. I'm here to represent the investor-owned utilities and give you a little build on the foundation that Meredith talked about a bit, and give you a few more examples how the investor-owned utilities are working with local government partners and other capacities in addressing the water energy nexus. I do see other utility representatives out there from the other investor-owned utilities, so if I don't know the answer, I'm going to lean on them for this information as it addresses specifically their potential program. So with that, I want to back up a bit and just recognize that this dependent relationship that is so very connected here, and just the paradox that's associated with water and energy, and the necessity for them to coexist in that same environment. And also recognizing that opportunity, the ability to be efficient with water usage and efficient with energy usage at the same time, and how crucial that is. And so we really have a great opportunity to solve two things at once here. Again, referencing some of the past information that's out there, and it's becoming more and more aware, just the amount of energy that's being used in the supply, conveyance, treatment, and use of water, and recognizing it in the different capacities and the different forms associated with that. Here, this table just gives you a little reference as to the functional components. If you follow water through the life cycle, and you can see its energy intensity as it's broken down by each specific utility. This is from one of the previous studies that was done by GEI and Navigant Consulting in regards to studying water. So you can see depending on the utility, depending on how the systems are set up, there's obviously different loads or energy intensities associated with the various components. So I'm going to speak just briefly about the pilots, because I want to continue what Meredith spoke about, and the fact that all the investor-owned utilities, helped look at different strategies where they could identify this nexus, and as mentioned, the different components associated with it, but also needing to analyze that information a little bit further. So taking a further look at that information, I wanted to give you a little bit more background on some of the other investor-owned utilities. So first, I'm going to be speaking about San Diego Gas and Electric. But I want to back up a bit, because I'm not sure if everyone in the room is familiar with what a local government partnership is. So I just want to lay that out a bit. A local government partnership in regards to this effort is a partnership between an investor-owned utility and an associated local government and their service territory. And there's various benefits associated with that partnership. Each utility has different benefits based off of how their model is designed or how that relationship is established. But I just wanted to give you a little bit of framework. So when I talk about local government partnerships, it's actually a specific program within that investor-owned utility. So in regards to San Diego, there's quite a few efforts that they've done with the County of San Diego, specifically looking forward to more leak loss detection, where they're able to focus on some of the high-value targets using the acoustic leak detection equipment associated with it. Also, the pressure zones and being able to adjust those, and managed landscapes, looking to leverage a lot of the information that comes from those pilots that were done, and now how to expand that pilot, how to take that to a next step into a program design. Also, there's a really good program that went out with the detention facilities in the County of San Diego that found to reduce a large amount of water usage as well, so possibly looking at developing that out further. A couple other partnership activities that they've worked with City of Chula Vista, really focusing on outreach to customers and that next step to take that water efficiency into an evaluation. Looking with the Port of San Diego and the Green Business Network that's associated there, and being able to provide technical assistance, various workshops associated with it, and really achieving those sustainability goals. And then finally, also with the Balboa Park Cultural Partnership, and looking how they worked with that group to do add faucet aerators with a huge potential savings associated there. Now jumping to Southern California Edison and some of the efforts underway with SEE. So one of the programs out there I wanted to give an example of is a partnership that we're in with the West Basin Municipal Water District, in which it was an integrated audit program, which was basically a one-stop shop and helped minimize the interruption in the business so that someone could come in and audit and identify energy efficiency measures as well as water efficiency installation options too. And that really integrated the components and helped nurture that partnership and that relationship on how can energy and water utilities work together to help accomplish the same goals while keeping the customer in mind. And I think that's the really great thing about this program, is really keeping that customer in mind as to how do we design something around them rather than design something around us as a utility. A couple more specific efforts related to Edison. We've got several different rebates, incentives, technical assistance out there, pump testing programs, a little bit to what Meredith spoke about the continuous energy improvement that we have. That's the integrated DSM pilot that we have. Codes and standards, some Title 20 work being done on some of the other appliances, emerging technologies for water heaters and treatment, and of course education and training. Recently, we released an RFP for leak loss detection and pressure management. We've received those proposals and we're evaluating them now. But really the goal of this is to take what we learned in the previous pilots, get some more information to help bolster that data, and then design a program that's comprehensive in its nature that can be able to leverage the methodologies and the calculations that are being developed currently, and develop a comprehensive offering that integrates energy efficiency, DR, and DG associated and targeted towards water agencies specifically. Speaking specifically about PG&E, they had some really great energy efficiency measures that they launched in 2011 that saved over 80 million gallons of customer water. And their analysis for their 2012 looks like that will increase by at least 50% to 1.3 billion gallons. As you can see, several different water energy emerging technologies that are out there, being embedded energy variability, looking at several different irrigation innovations and systems with those various evaluations associated in that. Also the key components coming in with the education, and we're working with Cal State University Fresno on the Ag Water and Energy Center. There's a lot of great information that is being incorporated from those focus groups and stakeholders as well. To some of their partnerships that they've worked with, they've got have built good relationships in developing their water energy audits and benchmarks with various local governments, and including a water energy task force where they focus in on those partners specifically. The San Mateo County Energy Watch, they focused in on schools and looking at how that water consumption information could help on an audit for those schools that had high consumption. So really taking that information to the next step. With the Sierra Nevada Energy Watch, really leveraging a lot of the best practices from the leak loss detection, assessing the accuracy of water meters, running pilots in the community as well for aerators and low flow shower heads to offset the high cost of emergency water. And then finally, Napa County Energy Watch, working with the local districts on audits and analysis to be able to better provide information to make decisions. And then finally on to Southern California Gas Company. So as you can see, they've had a lot of great things that they've accomplished over the years. Specifically, the residential washer program has been very successful. Also working with the Metropolitan Water District and teaming up and really coordinating the incentive structure is a key component. So leveraging those incentives that MWD has with what the utility has to offer has provided great value. Also a lot of training programs that's been associated with it, and they've also had great success on their landscaping program and being able to provide a great example, including at their Energy Resource Center in Downey, of what that landscaping can happen. And then finally on to some more of their current efforts. They will too be releasing a leak loss detection and pressure management RFP, again leveraging a lot of the information that's out there. believe they'll be taking a little bit different direction associated with that, but still focused on how can we get that information forward. But also looking at load profiles. It's something that they don't have currently, and understanding how they can calculate those embedded therms in water as well. And then finally, again, here we are back to kind of all the things that we've touched on, and you can see how they've all relate in some way and fashion, how it becomes just a continual circle of getting those results, studying them, offering programs, fine-tuning, keeping those partnerships and stakeholders all in mind with that. So with that, I'll pass it over to Lauren. Thank you.
So thank you all. As Meredith mentioned, I'm from the Regional Climate Protection Authority in Sonoma County, and so representing sort of the municipal government perspective on water energy nexus type programs. And just wanted to echo something she said, that in many communities, water and wastewater are provided by local governments. And so these this sector, this source, represents a large share of community budgets and also their emissions inventory. So for us, an entity created to help provide collaboration across the jurisdictions of Sonoma on programs that reduce greenhouse gas emissions, programs that affect both water and energy are very compelling. So we received funding through the DOE's Better Buildings program to implement a variety of programs in Sonoma County on behalf of local governments. And through this grant, we opted to pursue an on-bill repayment program. We issued an RFP for proposals, and the pay-as-you-save system was very compelling to us. So we ended up partnering with the Energy Efficiency Institute from Vermont, the developers of the system, which I'll get into in much more detail. And we also did outreach with the local governments in Sonoma to see which municipal utilities might be best positioned and most interested in implementing a pilot. The town of Windsor happened to be that community, so we worked with the town's water utility staff to get this program off the ground. So why did we select Pay As You Save? Our goals and the town of Windsor's goals were really to provide a model that would rapidly increase customer participation in resource efficiency programs. We also were hoping to provide a tool that could serve all types of customers, including single and multifamily, as well as owners and renters, and one that would complement other programs available in the county, like our PACE program, run through the Sonoma County Energy Independence Program, and the Energy Upgrade California incentives that were already being rolled out as well. We also were looking for something that would increase program effectiveness and meet or exceed their water efficiency goals and help contribute towards their greenhouse gas reduction goals. And lastly, we wanted to find a program that could help free up the existing rebate dollars for more strategic purposes and really target their biggest supply challenges, for example. So most simply, PAYS is a program that allows customers to pay for upgrades over time through a utility bill surcharge that's attached to a meter. So like a loan, it allows customers to install resource efficiency measures with no upfront cost. But unlike a loan, there is no debt obligation. The specifics of how PAYS work are really what make it compelling and successful. And again, I'll get more into those specifics, but fundamentally the program is designed to eliminate barriers that typically keep customers from purchasing resource efficiency measures, including lack of capital, lack of credit, a fear that the savings won't actually materialize or last, and a hassle, program participation hassle, or a lack of ownership of the property. So it gets at all of those. It addresses all of those barriers, which is really why we're seeing positive participation rates. So it removes those barriers by allowing customers to purchase measures with, as I said, no upfront payment and none of the usual debt obligations, credit checks, liens, or other things associated with an actual loan. The surcharge is a utility charge added to the bill. It also provides customers with the assurance that the surcharge that they will pay to pay off the measures that are installed is lower than the combined savings that they'll see on their utility bill. So they experience net savings from day one. They're also given the assurance that they will only pay while they remain at the location, and there are disclosure processes in place to make sure that the successor customer or occupant understands that they inherit both the surcharge on the bill, but also the energy benefits of those measures and water benefits. And they also receive a promise that a failed measure will be repaired or their payment obligation will end. So that eliminates that fear that maybe these savings won't materialize or last. And I think lastly, throughout, this offer is coming from, and all these assurances are coming from the town of Windsor, which is someone that they really trust. So there's a lot of faith in or comfort with accepting the offer to participate in the program. So this is a little bit more about mechanically how the program works. The first, or going to be a good place to start, is at the top. A capital provider, or in the town of Windsor's case, it was actually the town itself, provides funding to pay for the contractors, the installations, and the equipment up front. A qualified contractor, so actually, sorry, there's a middleman in this model called the certification agent. So the capital provider provides funds to a certification agent that pays certified contractors for completed work. The certification agent role in Sonoma County is played by the Sonoma County Energy Independence Program, which is another local government partner. And in some other pay-as-utility models in place in other states, the certification agent role is also served by the utility. Essentially, it's the administrator of the program, someone who's vetting the contractors and the contractor's work, approving the project offerings to customers, and making sure that the utility can go ahead with adding a surcharge to that customer's bill. So that's the role of the certification agent. The certified contractor is responsible for marketing the products and services, so contacting customers who've expressed interest in the program, coming to their location and doing a cursory audit to say these are the measures that would be viable in your home. And with the offer in hand, the customer can decide whether or not to install certain measures. Once those are installed, the customer is responsible for paying the surcharge on the water bill and then disclosing the next occupant of these measures and the surcharge when they move. And then lastly, the utility collects the surcharge and sends the amount collected to the capital provider so they can recoup their costs. In Windsor Pays, there are a variety of measures available to customers. The basic measures include high-efficiency toilets, shower heads, and aerators, and customers can't install the Basic Plus measures unless they have either installed the basic measures or don't qualify for the basic measures because of their existing equipment or usage patterns or other factors. But they have to do basic if they qualify for basic. Basic Plus includes CFLs, high-efficiency clothes washer, and maybe most importantly to the town of Windsor, the standard dry summer drought-tolerant landscaping. That was really important to the town because they were starting to be very concerned about peak summer supply. And then there are also a suite of co-pay measures that do require a little upfront cost from the customer. These include on-demand hot water circulation pumps, enhanced landscaping, luxury clothes washers, matching dryers, and high-efficiency refrigerators. So these are measures that the program allows customers to essentially finance through the surcharge, but these measures require a little upfront cost because they're either not cost effective or because they offer some non-energy benefits to the customer, recognizing that people might want to have their washer and dryer replaced at the same time, or to go beyond the basic landscaping that the program is able to offer. In 7 months of field operations, we've seen really promising results in the town of Windsor. The program has served 4% of all residential units in the town. It's a town of 8,000 people, so it's 300 projects, but that's still a fairly impressive penetration rate in 7 months. These projects, which are both in single-family and multifamily properties, have achieved an average savings of 10% of energy use and 20% of indoor water use, and a net utility bill cost savings of $15 a month. So between their water and energy bill. We don't have data on all the landscaping projects yet because those are just now being installed. It's also gotten a lot of positive press, both locally, and then won an award by the American Council for an Energy Efficient Economy and the Alliance for Water Efficiency for programs of promise. So I think a lot of folks are looking to see how this model continues to perform in the town of Windsor. Some of the specific lessons we've learned through the program are that the very carefully crafted relationships between all the players and the way that the program is set up to provide an offer that works for the customer has yielded a pretty high acceptance rate. We think that as many as 80% of the customers who've received an offer for their home have opted to participate.
Sorry, could you explain just a little bit how that offer comes?
Sure. So when an interested customer calls the utility, they get maybe a mailer or they see an ad and they are interested, they will call the town of Windsor, and actually the certification agent fields those calls. So it's the Sonoma County Energy Independence Program, which is also important because they refer customers to PACE programs as well as EUC programs. So they are able to direct Windsor residents towards a suite of programs, including this one. That customer then schedules a visit with a contractor who comes to their home, looks at their existing equipment, interviews them about number of occupants and typical use patterns, which are then imported into an in-field tool that we've developed, a tablet-based tool that then assesses the expected energy and water savings impacts, as well as calculates the surcharge that they would pay for that set of measures. And the customer can then, at that point, accept them, and the contractor will actually install them right then and there. There had been bulk purchasing for some of the measures ahead of time. So the landscaping has to be scheduled at a later date, and so do the large appliances, but toilet, shower heads, aerators can happen right then and there. So it makes it very easy. They get one visit, one offer, and then they have measures. And then a month or two later, they actually start to see the surcharge. They see the savings immediately, and then the surcharge takes about a month or two to show up. One of the other really important lessons in Windsor is that the utility opted to fund the program itself, and this allowed them to harness about 4% return dedicated exclusively to lost revenue. So they could ameliorate the impacts of lost revenue from the efficiency program by financing themselves. So I think it's a 7% interest rate total on the surcharge. 3% goes back to paying off their fund. 4% goes to protect lost revenue. So it's a really good model, and it made it a lot more attractive for the utility itself to implement these resource efficiency programs. At the outset, pretty significant rate and billing modifications were needed, including switching from 1,000-gallon billing to single-gallon billing. And then adding some modifications to their billing system. And that really made the program much easier to roll out ultimately. And it also helps provide a cost signal to all customers, not just program participants. By switching from 1,000-gallon to single-gallon, they now see cost savings associated with any conservation activities they do at home, even if they're not installing measures. And lastly, I actually have two more. The rebate budget that the town was previously dedicating to measures that are actually cost effective, like toilets, is now dedicated to more strategic measures from a utility perspective, and only the participants in the program pay for the measures that they want in their homes. And lastly, contractors are really essential in this program and in marketing this program. And so we saw much better success after the contractors, maybe 2 or 3 months in, had more familiarity and comfort with this model and could better explain the model to customers. There was a very significant ramp up after a second training, so really essential in the program success. So given the promising impacts we've seen in Windsor, the Bay Area Regional Energy Network, which you've heard a little bit about today, opted to pursue an expansion of this program in the Bay Area. So we included it in our program implementation plan, and we're authorized by the CPUC to expand. And we're currently in the midst of scoping conversation with 4 utilities that have opted to partner with Bayren. 4 water utilities. Thank you for municipal water utilities. So these are the City of Hayward, the East Bay Municipal Utility District, San Francisco Public Utilities Commission, and the Town of Windsor. And the Town of Windsor is on here. They're actually pursuing expansion into their commercial customers as well. So we're really excited because this is a wide variety of markets, and there's a wide variety of building stock available, and hopefully we can see what the program might be capable of in the greater Bay Area through this pilot expansion. So that's all I have. I just put my contact information up here if you have any more questions about what's going on in Windsor. And then I also added our consultant's contact information because when it gets down into the really nitty-gritty details, these are the guys that you'd like to talk to. So.
Can I ask you one follow-up
Yeah.
question before we move on to Elise? Is it the case that the town of Windsor is somehow also... Are the residents of Windsor being provided electricity by Sonoma County's...
No, they're PG&E customers.
They're PG&E customers.
So the energy savings impacts, the natural gas and electricity savings through hot water savings or through the energy appliances are showing up on their PG&E bill.
Okay, but the town is funding the rebates.
They're also harnessing the PG&E rebates.
They are.
Yeah.
Okay. So got it. All right. But it's the town's program.
Yep.
They're essentially the provider of the rebate, and I'm assuming the town's residents are all being provided water and wastewater services by the town?
Yep.
Okay. Got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
I just wanted to clarify that for everyone.
Thank you.
Right. Thanks a lot, Lauren.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Elise Goldman. I'm the water efficiency specialist with the West Basin Municipal Water District. And I'm really happy to be here today to talk to you about a local government partnership that we belong to in Southern California, a program that we're implementing in collaboration with an energy utility through that partnership. And then I'll talk a little bit about West Basin's master planning efforts that we're trying to make collaboration more deliberate and intentional. So just a little bit of background about West Basin. For those of you who don't know, we are a municipal water wholesale agency governed by a 5-member publicly elected board of directors. The blue areas were a non-contiguous water district. We purchase water from the Metropolitan Water District and then sell it to 8 different customers, which include 3 investor-owned 8 companies, 3 cities, and the County of Los Angeles. Our service area, we represent nearly 1 million people in 17 cities across 185 square miles. And as I said, we provide imported water, but we also provide recycled water to the region, water efficiency programs, and education to businesses, residents, school children, a lot of different sectors. So one of the ways that we get the word out about our water efficiency programs and our education programs, et cetera, is through our partnership with a local government entity called the South Bay Cities Council of Governments and their environmental outreach arm, if you will, the SBESC, or the South Bay Environmental Services Center. In 2002, and if you'll notice too, the map that you saw before, one of the reasons why this partnership works so well is because of our regional similarities. So this is a map of the South Bay City Council of Governments service area or territory. And in 2002, the original partnership between the COG, the South Bay City Council of Governments, and Southern California Edison and the Southern California Gas Company was formed as the South Bay Energy Savings Center. West Basin joined that partnership along with Torrance Water. I hope I got the year right for Torrance, 2006. And then it was followed by other partners joining the Los Angeles County Sanitation District, the Metropolitan Transportation Authority, and the County of Los Angeles. I didn't leave anybody out. I know we have a couple members here in the audience. So I'm not sure exactly what year it was, but the SBESC modified their title from, or the name of their organization, from the Energy Savings Center to the Environmental Services Center to more broadly encompass the new partners that were had joined in the effort. And as somebody was talking earlier today, the South Bay City Council of Government is a joint power authority that was formed to take advantage of economy of scale to implement regional projects and work together with the cities that you see here. So how does West Basin benefit from being part of this partnership? Well, I primarily attend the monthly partnership meetings for West Basin, and I can tell you that access to energy utility personnel has been critical to collaboration. We share ideas, information, and technology. We may have a specific site or a specific technology that we are discussing or that we're looking at, and the monthly forum to bring those sites to the partnership. Oftentimes, that has created some synergies and collaborative efforts. One specific hotel comes to mind. I know Anne from the gas company and I were talking about it earlier. It's like our lab, the Torrance Marriott in Torrance, California. The director of engineering lets us do a lot of exciting things, and because we help pay for a lot of those projects, and he gives us all kinds of data, and it's really good. So, if one of us has spent a lot of time cultivating that relationship, say with the director of engineering from the Torrance Marriott, we can leverage that effort and that customer to capture both water and energy savings. So it's not one entity doing it for both water and energy, but we're leveraging some of our time. And another very important aspect of that is having consistent contacts within the energy utilities. It's been a huge benefit, and sometimes that's the start. That's enough to start one of these collaborative projects. So what have we learned? Well, we've learned that, again, as I said, we can leverage those relationships within the partnership and then beyond. So even if the person sitting at the table from the gas company or from Edison might not be the exact right person to work with on that specific project, but 9 times out of 10, the person in the room knows the people that we need to talk to. And then I guess we're still learning about how our budget cycles interact with the IOU program cycles, which was the thinking that led us to include water and energy in our master planning efforts. So in 2010, 2011, West Basin was undergoing an update to our water efficiency master plan. And we want, instead of, as I was saying to somebody earlier, instead of tracing down trains that have already left the station, we're trying to plan ahead and maybe get on the train at the same time. So Chapter 6 of West Basin's Water Efficiency Master Plan features a water and energy implementation plan that lays out both short-term and long-term strategies. And I won't read this entire list, but the strategy of the short-term plan is to find programs that offer both water and energy savings and also that demonstrate an ability for successful partnership models, which I thought was really important to put in there, that we weren't just looking through the lens of how much energy and how much water does it save, but is this effort helping us to create partnership models? And then the key elements of the long-term strategy, just to sum that up, were demonstrating successes from those collaborative efforts, developing regional strategies, and then helping to design future programs. And one of the things that we did do, West Basin, along with several other water agencies, was to become a party to the California Public Utility Commission proceedings, which none of us had ever done. And we don't have staff dedicated to poring over the comments, and so it was a very.
We hope you won't need them.
We hope So that was a very steep learning curve, but it really has allowed us to sit at the table and if not directly affect, but to be part of the conversation, which has been very valuable. So in Chapter 6. We developed this little icon. I thought it was really cute for our water energy programs. It's a light bulb with our logo on the inside. These were the programs that were analyzed for energy integration. And some of these programs, I'm sure, are very familiar to some of you. Government Energy Leader Program, the Energy Upgrade California. So some of these, as you can see in the far right column, lists the lead agency who was leading that effort. And again, we used criteria of water and energy savings as well as partnering opportunities. And there are 10 programs there that we analyzed. So the final cut, 5 programs were identified during the planning process. I said the final cut, or was it? Because, this plan is already ripe for modification because the programs that are circled in yellow are the ones that we identified immediately that we could integrate on some level, not necessarily direct installation, but even if it encompassed education, tacking on education outreach. So those 5 programs, the one with the line through it has finished. We ran out of the grant ended. So that program no longer exists. But then the programs that are circled in red are programs that even since 2011, we have found ways to either get involved, start providing information, attending joint meetings. For instance, with the government energy leader program, if we attend a joint meeting, somebody who calls to ask about energy efficiency, we come along and tell them the water opportunities. The Recirc and Save program is it's our industrial water efficiency program. We're looking at ways to partner with the gas company. So my point here is that even though we identified those top 5, we've found opportunities in other areas as well.
Before you click off, can you tell us the yellow highlighted ones? Were those partnerships were any of those programs or all of them jointly funded? No. Okay.
I would say that none of them are really jointly funded.
Okay.
They're mostly us walking side by side. Okay. So us putting some money into it and the energy utility or the lead agency already funding it. Mm-hmm. Like the direct install program, Edison's already funding that. We tried to talk to Edison about adding a water component onto the direct install program. And then we ended up working more with the SCE non-residential audit program, which Jesse touched on a little bit earlier. So because the funding for direct install had run out temporarily, they hooked us up with somebody who was working in the non-residential audit. So we tried our idea out with that. Yeah.
Thanks.
And that happened all after the plan came out. So one of the programs that kind of rose through the ranks and is on our third year, we're in our third year of implementation right now, is the one that's on the top of the list, the Cash for Kitchens program. And that's the program that I'm just going to talk a little bit about as I finish up. So in 2009, we received grant funding from the Metropolitan Water District through their Enhanced Conservation Program, which was a program that didn't look at necessarily new devices, but new ways of delivering programs to customers. So we focused on the commercial food sector. We worked through the South Bay Environmental Services Center and trained staff. There's Martha Segovia there from the South Bay Center. We trained Martha to do a water assessment of the commercial kitchens. And so we offer free water use survey, training for kitchen staff, and then free devices to replace inefficient equipment, pre-rinse spray valves, faucet flow restrictors, and high-efficiency water brooms. We don't install any of these devices because we're trying to keep project costs low. And when you start installing devices, you have to get into a whole other level of liability and contractors. And so, and we're still in that model. We're looking at expanding into installation. But right now, it's just distribution. First things first, we had to develop some collateral materials. On the left is a training manual. It's a 7-8 page training manual that basically talks about devices as well as behavior. And then our educational laminated poster, which it was ripped off directly from the energy utilities. They have I'm sure some of you have seen it. It has a plate and it says like the percentage of energy used in a kitchen. So I'm not afraid to ride coattails that are successful. And then here's just a brief look at the table of contents of the training manual. Again, it's a behavior and equipment based. So we're doing mostly like a train the trainer type session, and giving the manager collateral materials to reinforce messaging. And then during the water survey and equipment testing, we're looking for older, inefficient devices and giving them replacements for those. So these are just a few pictures of the devices. The ones on the top row are the ones that we distribute, and then the ones on the bottom row are ice machine and food steamers. We just advertise the rebates for those, for both the water and energy rebates, because both of those you can get both a water and energy rebate, and it's not double dipping. So both gas and electric have always been part of the information gathering process. So Martha, when she was out there gathering water information at the very beginning, she was also looking at their lighting and looking at refrigeration and even looking at gas, and funneling those customers to the Edison and gas company reps saying, we just did a Cash for Kitchens visit. This customer looks like he needs new lighting, or this customer was talking about his high gas bill or something like that. So they would get funneled. But then in 2011, the gas company agreed to look at a group of technicians that they have called the commercial service technicians, and looking at coordinating efforts with our Cash for Kitchens program. So that began a cooperative relationship with the gas company. And this is a picture of one of our training sessions. This wasn't one of our first ones, but this was one that after we had been going for about a year and a half. You can see the gentleman standing up on the right-hand side is one of the CSTs who's been working with the program, talking to other CSTs about the benefits of collaborating with this. So for us, well, for the customer, really, not for us, but for the customer, we're bringing not just an informed water presence, but an informed energy presence to the survey to help promote both water and energy best practices. And we have to do things like make sure that we schedule the visits with enough lead time so that the CST can arrange his or her schedule. I believe we don't schedule anything after 2 p.m. or like on Mondays and Fridays, because those are days that they do paperwork. So those types of things that we just had to make small modifications to our program to really bring a much more enhanced offering to the customers. And I guess this is kind of what's next. Jesse talked about some of the audit activities that we're trying to merge, possible funding opportunities. These are just kind of questions of this is what we're looking at for the future, if possible. Quantification of energy savings from water saved, that number that Meredith is working very hard on, along with dozens of other people helping her. And then, other local government partnerships, seeking partnerships with regional water agencies. As was mentioned earlier, most of the local government partnerships that do exist have some water or wastewater agencies within their jurisdiction that they can bring in. But there's also a value to even having a more, having those monthly meetings, maybe not necessarily just offering the water and wastewater agencies the incentives of the programs, but bringing them in to work on that type of planning and really because of our customers in common, to really try to be more efficient in our program delivery. So with that, I will turn it back to Meredith and answer any questions if anybody has any.
I think Elise made a lot of good points. I mean, we don't, if we're servicing the same customer twice for water efficiency and energy efficiency, why can't we be combining that service? I mean, it's, to me, one of the most logical efficiencies that we could be gaining in the state, especially when we're talking about end users, small businesses, commercial, industrial, and even residential. And so, in my mind, let's try and make it easier for you and SoCalGas or West Basin and Edison to be able to, pay the same auditor and not be, oh, it's very nice that your Cash for Kitchens person was out there giving energy recommendations and referring, but I would hope that we can do more to encourage that, as opposed to just hoping that great agencies like West Basin will continue to do those things. Was it your idea? Was it someone else's idea? So it's really exciting to hear that you guys identified so many partnership opportunities, without the CPUC or the Energy Division like telling you that these were good ideas, that you just did them yourself. But also, wouldn't it be great if, once we've recognized that there is a lot of bang for the buck here, how can we really form partnerships and essentially allow our IOU program implementers to form those partnerships? So that's my 2 cents. Thank you to everyone. This is fascinating, and I want to open it up for questions. And there is a mic.
Hi, Susan Wright, San Mateo County Energy Watch. 2 questions. One is, so I'm thinking it's exciting to think about connecting our energy audits with somehow water audits. Are water measures able to be funded on bill financing is the first question. And the second question is, have you thought about with the small businesses or the business outreach to connect in then also with green business programs? And that adds, 1 or 2 more audits as well. But while you're at it, has that come up either?
On-bill financing for water measures is slightly more difficult than, say, what SoCalGas does, only because, as I mentioned, we wholesale water to 8 different companies or agencies, and all of them have different billing styles and data that they, even the way that the type of databases that they collect the information in. I mean, even up until 5 years ago, I think some water agencies had like a card, like a Rolodex kind of thing, or
right. Some of them, SCADA systems, which is the data system that a lot of water agencies have, there's still many that don't. Yeah. And especially the smaller ones, because it's an advanced system. So I did want to interject that the California Water Foundation has this Water Smart Savings Bill template that East Bay Mud just piloted. I think their pilot is ending in July. So it's sort of like a smart bill for water for customers, which is a new thing for water customers.
I think as water agencies are updating their billing systems, they're trying to keep all of this in mind, and keeping in mind, showing profiles from month to month and comparing you to your neighbor and that type of stuff.
Right.
So
yeah, and that's what this I can't think of what it's called. I'm embarrassed. I should know. But no one from East Bay Mud in the room. I just saw them earlier. So it's like the Water Smart Savings Bill. And it's, a pretty little thing that does show you, like, here's the average in your neighborhood and here's what you did. And they've done some smart water meter pilots as well along with that. But smart water meters are really we're not quite there yet. No. So and then there's a second part to your question about joint audits, green business audits. Anyone?
No? Green business in what regard?
The green business program covers water and energy, but also
sustainability, other sustainability aspects.
Solid waste and pollution prevention.
Right.
And so there would be then an audit for each of those as far as I understand. And so I just wondered if you had tried to join hands with any of those others as well, or thought about that.
We haven't specifically, but it sounds like that's an opportunity.
It's a new horizon.
I've reached out to there's like a Clean Bay restaurant certification program. I've tried to reach out to them. They had some when I was doing that, they had a change in personnel, and so that kind of stopped for a little while. The EPA has a E3 program, like a lean manufacturing program, and they've cobbled together some serious, like 7 or 8 different federal type agents. I think mostly federal agencies, DOE, Department of Commerce, and I've gone with them. Their audit maybe costs money, and then I was able to do some free stuff for them. So that was a really great opportunity. The gas company was there as well. So there's a lot of them out there. I think it's it's hard to identify them all, but it's very worthwhile to try to
Right.
to collaborate with them.
And I wanted to say, like, given the level of flexibility that some local government partners and the RENs have now, like, I would say that it would definitely pass the smell test if someone suggested that they were going to combine their small business energy efficiency audits with another audit program. I mean, I can't imagine why that would be a problem. It seems like a logical idea. How many different people does a small business owner need to have come into their business to tell them to be sustainable? When obviously energy is a big part of that, and water for many of them would be as well.
Yeah, we have a long ways to go. The program Jesse mentioned that we partnered with Edison on, we're in the evaluation portion of it now. We got some grant funding from the United States Bureau of Reclamation, and that that will require a final report. And so we're working with Edison to evaluate. There's definitely we laid out a roadmap, but I think at each point on the map there was something that maybe we had to do some kind of workaround because of changing technology or changing staff. And but we feel like, so my point with that though is that we were in there visiting the business, but it's still, there was a few steps after it that it wasn't quite as seamless as I had envisioned, but I think we're getting there.
Can I ask a question of the audience? How many of you are with a local government who operates a water or wastewater plant? Okay. Well, either or. No. Okay. So, and if you are, then this makes delivering these kinds of, like, West Basin is in a, somewhat unique position in that they're wholesalers. They're in between Met, this huge water agency, and local retail water agencies. So they're able to deliver these programs across a wider area. But, we're hopeful that as the water energy nexus progresses within the PUC's thinking, that it will be easier for especially those LGPs that already exist and also have water agencies as part of their local government, that you can deliver some of these programs yourself. Okay, question in the back.
Contact a guy named Frank Farrell with the Stockton Chamber of Commerce. They've pioneered a first of its kind in California, a program that does exactly what you're talking about. Wildly successful. They do the full-blown water, energy, sustainable recycling, all of it. One-stop shopping, and they hit all sizes of businesses in the city of Stockton. So, all right.
Excellent. One question I asked Elise when she presented at our workshop was, would you have done this one of your programs if you didn't have grant funding from the federal government, and or how would you have tried to fund it? And so, we recognize that, like, funding is a big issue, and a lot of these things are fantastic, but unless the commission can point to energy savings in them and sort of authorize them as part of a local government program portfolio, then we're not going to make a ton of progress if they're just based on, like, one-time funding. Okay.
My name is Mo Lasai, and I'm with the city of Oceanside. Most of you probably know that up and down the state, every region has a very stringent permit from the State Water Resources Control Board, which is called Municipal Stormwater Permit. Okay, that every 5 years they issue that permit, and it gets loaded and loaded. This last one that was issued is basically says all the municipalities zero tolerance for runoff. Okay, so zero tolerance. That means I have to create water cop to patrol from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. to go and find if who's having over irrigation problem. So with that in mind, when you're talking, Jesse, about audit and all that, I think the residential will be desperate to have audit to help them how to, not you guys are in utility business, but I mean in electricity business, but in water, they really need a lot of audit to help them to prevent that over irrigation.
Right.
So our friend Liana and Josh from San Diego Gas and Electric, if you guys want to do any reach out and educate people about about auditing and helping them, I think that's a good time. They will be very desperate to hear, but unfortunately I don't have all the resources available to me to do that audit.
Yeah.
So that was just a suggestion. And for Liana, for Lauren, that city that you mentioned, a small town, and I understand you mentioned the program was administered by the city, by the town. How did they fund their administration part of it?
The program design and original implementation costs were grant funded through the Better Buildings program through my agency on behalf of the town. That said, they contributed significant staff time to the administration of the program, but that was part of their existing conservation program budget. So rather than implementing the prior rebate programs that the town offered, the water utility conservation program manager's time was devoted to this PAYS system instead.
And to go back to your point about landscape, I know it was in Jesse's presentation that San Diego is continuing to run a managed landscape. So that's directed at, commercial size landscapes. And SoCal Gas, I believe, is also working on landscape efficiency. But this is sort of one of the areas that may be very ripe for programs once we have an adopted method for quantifying the embedded energy in water. But most of the water experts recognize that not only are we discussing the runoff issues that you brought up, but, the state's water agencies have done a pretty great job of encouraging indoor water conservation, and we may be squeezing, drops of savings out of Californians that are already pretty conservative in their indoor water use, but might not recognize that their outdoor water use is still relatively high. And over irrigation is a significant issue. And so I was just talking to someone at the last meeting I was at about in certain parts of the state, the water agency's peak for delivery time is still matching up with energy peak, which isn't necessarily logical. And a lot of that is still outdoor irrigation during the daytime. So, there might still be more low-hanging fruit there than we think that there is.
And, one of the things that when I first started at the water district, writing grants, when you look at something like runoff, it can have dual benefits. When you reduce runoff, not only are you reducing water use, but you are reducing runoff.
Right.
And pollution that goes to the ocean. So, there may be that always will strengthen a grant application when you can have dual benefits like that. And, funding sources don't just come then from a water efficiency standpoint, but also a stormwater management standpoint as well. So we're trying very hard to tackle these issues. Right. But one thing that the energy utilities has that we don't necessarily have are, and I should have mentioned this in the presentation, was that they have a lot more staff than we do. There's me and one other person that manage the water efficiency programs for West Basin. And like I said, that's almost 1 million people, 17 cities. We have a couple of interns part-time that maybe help us, but we don't have a lot of time to go out and do those audits. But those are very valuable. And also just patrolling in a way, right? So that's mostly what you're talking about.
A lot of the retailers, the water retailers, have conservationists on staff that will come out and do those water audits. And they also offer multiple rebates in regards to smart controllers, pop-up irrigation, drip irrigation. They run classes. They run classes through us, at least through both of our retail water districts. And so you have an opportunity to work with them on this patrol policing issue, so you don't have to do that. You're just going to educate those folks, get them on a smart weather-based control system, get them with the proper, irrigation heads, and then you don't really have this overwatering problem. They should be watering at 3 a.m. anyway. And you may find the indoor water nexus with Liana and some of her folks at SDG&E with, shower saving kits and faucet aerators and all that good stuff.
And yeah, I do want to wrap up, but I just want to say that this is all part of, there are great programs out there that water agencies are running. So, what is energy efficiency's role in this? It's not to supplant them, but, if we could be supporting them, and part of our cost effectiveness framework that we're developing is to identify things that we don't normally care about an energy efficiency program, so the non-energy benefits, and to basically say it might not be cost effective for Edison's ratepayers to fund this landscape efficiency program all by themselves, but their benefit is this percentage of the total benefit, and therefore really encouraging actual cost sharing partnerships or joint rebate programs, which do exist for some things, expanding the scope of those, and providing a mechanism for those programs going forward.
We mentioned a lot about like water efficiency, but have you guys heard of any good opportunities for residential scale water reuse, like gray water, or water capture, like rain barrels? Any opportunities to kind of encourage that behavior?
Is there anyone from the SFPUC here? No. Okay.
Well, I know the City of San Diego has something with a rain barrel harvesting, and I think it's $1 per gallon up to 400 gallons, I believe. Is that, Liana, is that correct? Okay. So that, and I think that just launched here in February, March. So I don't know, but I was curious when I read that. I was wondering if there were other cities out there that had something similar. Matt, did you? Santa Monica does as well? Okay. Is it a similar incentive?
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly the amount.
The SFPUC, I know they offer a gray water laundry to landscape kit, is what they call it. It's complicated. I mean, not everyone can, well, they say everyone can do it, but it's not like, oh, put in this thing and all of a sudden I can use my wastewater to water my lawn. Or I live in San Francisco, no one has a lawn, but if they did, they're plants. But on-site water recycling is something that various state agencies are looking at. It's a big part of our water energy scoping plan for this cycle, because we recognize that reusing water as close to where it would otherwise be wasted is the most energy efficient way to go. Water recycling is great. Purple pipe systems, on the other hand, are not cheap. So if a location doesn't have them, looking at building a gray water system for a commercial landscape program or something else would have real energy and water benefits. So we definitely would like to explore that. Okay, well, it is nearly 4 o'clock. This computer says it's 6. That kind of freaks me out, but thank you again. I hope you all found this really useful as I did, and I encourage you. Actually, I forgot to put my contact information on my presentation. That's pretty bad, but if you would like to contact me, as public employees are always available, and it's easy because I have my full name on my presentation, and my email is my initials, mly@cpuc.ca.gov. And oh, it's on the participant list. Great. See, I didn't even know everyone had my contact info. And thank you so much. And so many of your colleagues have been very important thus far in pushing for the water energy nexus to be considered by the commission. So to the degree that that's what I do, I appreciate that and encourage your continued involvement. We will not get anything done without you. So thanks to everyone. Have a great evening. Oh, and your badges can be recycled.